for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Aric DiLalla.
What's up with you, Phil?
Well, I missed you, Aric, last week.
Yeah.
I was very sad.
No lag here, you know?
No lag.
Unfortunate.
It's like I say something, you say something immediately.
We talk over each other. It's just like...
It's the way it's supposed to be.
It's like it's meant to be.
Yeah. It just feels right.
It feels like so long ago that I was in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Does it feel good to be back?
It does. It's nice to be back in our lovely podcast studio.
Yeah. Yeah. This is just cozy, a little bit cozy.
Cozy, yep. Of course, we're wrapped up in blankets. We take them off right before the show just to be professional.
Well, there's a fire going in the corner.
Exactly.
Too.
You can't see it. It's behind the camera.
Sometimes you can hear in the distance like the faint
crackle.
Yeah, a little bit of a crackle.
Yeah, that's nice.
Sometimes a pop.
Yeah, it's good.
You were, of course, in Indianapolis with the great Ben Swanson.
He was there.
And now he's also joining us here in studio.
What do you think of the attire?
I don't like it. I can't see the plaid.
It's
There
here.
it is. Yeah, flannel.
Flannel plus quarters.
What is that?
Business on top, party underneath.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to please y'all.
Thank you.
That's kind of a...
Just I want to see more flannel.
Best of both worlds.
That flannel is a little... Is it gray?
I can't see it.
A little blue, maybe?
It's blue and gray, I think.
You've had more festive flannels.
That's true. Just going through my closet, just trying to find the right flannel for that day's mood.
Yeah. Thursday's flannel, podcast flannel.
It's important to choose the right one.
Of course, Aric, around here, we are gearing up for the start of free agency.
How is it here already, Phil?
I know.
It seems crazy.
The legal tampering period,
Yeah.
where teams can start negotiating, starts on Monday.
That's wild.
That is wild. I mean, it makes you think.
Legal tampering.
You can legally tamper.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense.
Kind of contradicts each other.
Yeah.
What do they call that word? What is that, a paradox?
Jumbo shrimp.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oxymoron?
Oxymoron, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's oxyphil, I think it's the more polite way to say it.
I'm just going to choose to ignore that.
Dang.
Choose to ignore it. So we thought maybe, hey, ahead of the start of free agency, we'll talk about where this Broncos team stands right now. How aggressive do you expect the Broncos to be next week, especially considering they only have 5 draft picks?
That's right.
If they want to make some substantial changes, it's unlikely that will happen through the draft.
Sure.
I mean, at least that's the way I think about it. I mean, first pick is in the 3rd round. You might find like some starters there, but you're not going to find somebody who's going to come in and dramatically change the way you play, what you like to do. They're just going to be added pieces that will contribute, but you're not going to go out and get somebody who's going to come in and have like 15 sacks, or certainly not 12 sacks.
In year 1, no. Right?
That's what I mean. For 2023.
Because, of course, Justin Simmons is a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
He's an all-pro
Of course he is.
player. So you can find talent, but we're talking about purely what is the impact going to be on a 2023 Denver Broncos. And so it's unlikely you're going to find a Pat Surtain that's ready to come in and start. What did he start? 16 games as a rookie? I mean,
yeah.
Unlikely.
He played a lot.
Unlikely. So
yes.
So if you want immediate players, immediate contributors, you're probably going to have to look to free agency. That's what George Payton said they were going to do.
Yeah. And when we talked to him after Sean Payton was introduced, he said, we plan to be aggressive in free agency.
Phil. Don't say we. You talked to him.
I talked to him.
You talked to him. Don't give me credit.
Well, look, I represent the organization.
Don't give Ben Swanson credit.
We talked to him.
No, you did. If like a Pro Football Talk was going to do an article about
name a person.
Okay, maybe like gosh, there's so many people that work there. A Shireen Williams, maybe. If she were going to do an article, she would say
Aric DiLalla talked.
No. She would probably say George Payton told Phil Milani in the story.
Got it. Not. I think she would probably say just like told the team's website.
Sometimes they do that. Shireen's actually very nice about crediting the actual person who did the interview.
Oh, really?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. That is nice when she does it.
It is nice. Sometimes some of these blogs, they'll just kind of rip it. They won't even link. Pro Football Talk, they do a nice job of linking at least. You get some.
They're sort of in that business.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
what,
business,
that's what
man.
they do. I'm not a business.
Yeah.
I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman.
So in that article, I'm sure it says told Phil Milani.
Yeah. So it'll sort of give you a little bit of an indicator of where the Broncos think they are. Like, hey, if you're really aggressive, you feel like you're like a couple pieces away of being like in the mix here, or hey, let's be patient, let's be a little more conservative, let's build through the draft and develop. That's another thing that George Payton likes to say.
It's true.
So, and with free agency, it'll sort of also tell you where Sean Payton's mind is after doing a deep dive on the roster. Hey, I've examined everything. I know the players now, and here's what we want to do moving forward. We'll just have a sort of an indicator on that.
Absolutely. I got some thoughts on it, Phil.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah, I'm not telling them to you now.
This is sort of a teaser for what's happening in the episode.
But I just teased that I have thoughts.
Oh,
you like
boy.
that?
I'm scared.
Yeah.
But I'm ready, too.
Kind of like a nervous anticipation.
Yeah. Anxious.
Yeah.
Anxious.
Are you sweating a little bit?
No, I don't sweat.
Really?
Yeah, I'm cool and
Calm.
And
Collected?
And collected.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sort of like Roger Federer.
I can see that.
The man doesn't sweat.
No.
He's just graceful.
Just plays tennis and wears a Rolex and eats pasta.
Yeah. It's a pretty good life.
Rolex not a sponsor.
But it could be.
But based on your wrist, Phil.
Yeah, they want to send some stuff over?
Yeah.
Please, go ahead.
There are a few men left of our age, Phil, that wear a nice wristwatch.
I always wear a watch.
You do?
Yeah, every day I wear a watch.
Yeah.
Sort of. It's just what I do.
I wear an Apple Watch sometimes, but not daily.
Do you like to close the rings? Isn't that what they say?
Apple Watch not a sponsor either, I don't think.
No, they're not.
I like to wear a Microsoft Surface watch.
The podcast appears on Apple's
podcast.
Yeah,
that's true.
Really, you can get this podcast wherever you find your podcasts.
You just hold your watch up to your ear and listen to the podcast, like as you're jogging.
Yeah. How does that work with the Apple Watch? You can talk to somebody right through it?
Yeah, it's not very clear, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's more like hey, I can't find my phone. Let me pick up on the watch real quick and be like, hey,
hold on
I need to find my phone real quick. Give me a second.
Hold on.
You go find your phone, blah, blah, blah. Now you're,
Got it.
now you're in business.
You don't have a whole conversation.
Or if you have the AirPods going on, headphones.
Yeah.
Non-sponsored headphones. You can connect directly to the to the non-sponsored watch. Oh, no.
Wouldn't you just connect straight to your phone at that point?
Yeah, but what if your phone's a little bit far away? Some of these watches, you don't even need to be near your phone.
Oh, really? It acts like it's on its own.
You can get one with cell service.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did see someone walking around the store the other day just talking into their watch, and I was like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's happening?
So, but I admire your watch.
Thank you.
It's Ben Swanson, of course, does not wear a watch. He has a little
he looks at the
pocket watch.
Oh, yeah.
On a chain.
Yeah.
And he pulls out.
Yeah.
Then he takes his monocle out and he investigates.
I was going to say, when you're out in the woods chopping down trees, you don't really want your watch to get hit or, it can get ruined that way.
Well, the misconception, Phil, is that Swanson chops down the trees. He just carries his axe out there and then looks at the trees and appreciates how beautiful they are.
Oh, got it.
He would never harm nature.
Yeah.
That
is true. Just appreciate it.
So, you think people are angry at us right now?
For going on too long?
Yeah.
Maybe. But the thing that's confusing to me is if you don't like it, just skip ahead to
Yeah.
Just
don't even listen.
I would just skip straight to the first step.
There's time codes.
2x speed and just get.
There's
just
time
finish.
codes.
Yeah, there is time codes.
Yeah.
Just go. Yeah, just use them.
Leave a comment. Tell us if you wear a wristwatch.
That's a good. Segue into telling people about how this is an interactive show.
That's right, Phil.
How would you leave a comment?
Many ways to. Well, first you could leave an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. You could leave a voice message, a voice memo, a voice mail at 707 Neutral.
Could someone record a voice memo and then email that as an attachment?
You are darn tootin' right that they could.
From their watch. You really could.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then you could also tweet at us directly on Twitter at Aric DiLalla with an A. Peep that new profile pic.
Oh, yeah? Did you choose one?
I did.
I know you were spending. How long did you spend?
Days.
Couple days.
Well, Ben Swanson has taken so many photographs over the years, it's hard to choose.
And everybody weighed in on it, and it was
we
did
an office vote,
an analysis piece.
Yeah, we took a data-driven approach to deciding which profile picture I should use.
Yeah. You made a couple of decks, right, and presented?
Just one.
One deck.
Yeah.
Got it.
Or at Phil Milani with a PH. One L in Phil.
One L in Phil.
To be clear.
Yeah.
One L in Milani.
If you're spelling Philip, 2 L's for me.
Yeah, but that in this case, you wouldn't need to do that.
Like Philip Rivers, though, 1 L.
Oh, he's coming back apparently, right?
We're enemies because of that.
Rich Eisen, is he a friend of the show? Has he been on this before?
I don't think Rich Eisen has been on the program.
He's been asking, but it hasn't.
Swanson
We're just
says
busy.
no. Swanson says no.
He, I think, reported that Philip Rivers was considering a return. Is that right?
He reported that Philip Rivers called the 49ers and the Dolphins at the end of last year to see if they would be interested in his services. Because the Dolphins, of course, had 2 concussion problems. They went into that playoff game against the Bills, I think, with their
Skylar Thompson?
Yeah.
Or, the seventh string.
He was like a fan who was like looking for an autograph, and they were like, "Did you want to just do you want to
He's a free agent. He could be here in a week, Phil. I'd be careful.
If he's got a problem, tell him to stop by.
No, careful.
Tell him to stop by.
Stop by the neutral zone.
Yeah.
I'm a big Skylar Thompson guy, so.
And then, of course, the 49ers went with Brock Purdy. Probably a good choice.
Yeah, he played well until he got hurt.
Yeah, maybe if
they could have gotten him in at halftime. Maybe of that game.
Phil, how fast can you get to Philly?
Wasn't there a report that Frank Reich reached out to Philip Rivers from Indy and he declined the opportunity? That was a while back.
I think he reached out to Andrew Luck to try and get him to come back.
Not the Rivers too, maybe.
Maybe that's something Frank likes to do is just
reach
call
out to
retired guys. Yeah. Hey, are you interested? We'll take anything.
I like it. You're edgy today.
Yeah. So
I don't even know how
that's what Rich Phil.
Oh, Rich Eisen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also said that Tom Brady might be coming back.
Yeah, I saw that.
Also to Miami.
So did some Patriots.
Oh, really?
Zolak, maybe?
That would be insane.
Former Patriots backup quarterback and like Boston radio host or something said that he's heard the Miami too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Whatever, Tom. Do what you want to do.
I thought that Tua was doing some new training to prevent the concussion.
I don't know.
Yeah, Tom, he should just live his best life.
That's true. Phil, you could also leave a comment on the Broncos YouTube channel. We'll respond, as I just said, maybe chime in, maybe with your age and if you wear a wristwatch. It's kind of an unscientific survey here. Just,
Like I'd be like, I'm 65 and I wear a watch.
I wear a wristwatch. I tend to think it is kind of an older generation that wears a nice wristwatch all the
versus
time.
an Apple Watch, you mean?
Or just no watch.
Or no watch.
I think there's a lot of people these days that just don't. They just look at their phone when they need the time.
They don't have time for a watch.
They don't have time because they don't have a watch.
Exactly.
So
how do you know, like,
your phone?
What are you supposed to do?
Your phone. Look at your phone.
Only your phone. It's a new world out there. Eric, of course, we love the YouTube comments.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of people picked up on the fact that I was upset last week. You were gone.
That's kind of like a comment.
How was that different from any other week?
I was extra upset.
Got it.
Because
you are extra.
I was away from you.
Yep.
Francisco Joaquina. Phil is so miserable without his everything. I'm almost in tears. There's one comment that's not about this that I want to get to, but hold on one second.
Good tease there.
Frank Casanova. Send Phil on the road too. You can't split these guys up. Human person. Human_person. Good show, guys. Human, yeah, right.
Yeah, nice try, robot.
I don't believe that.
Nice try.
Melvin Sanchez, send Phil to the combine. He asks all the right, wrong questions.
All the right, wrong questions. I think that's a compliment.
It definitely is. Killer 35 Durant, you guys need to be together. Aric and Phil, both spelled non-traditionally, can't be separated like this. Mike, I hope this comment doesn't create an organizational issue, but it's not cool that Phil stays home. If one travels, they should both travel. I feel it's not fair that Phil had to stay at home.
How did you make all these burners so quickly?
They just said it's not fair, okay? I think they just recognize.
Here's one from @Phil Milani. Gosh, it sucks.
It's can't split these guys up.
Good news, Phil. We'll be heading on the road shortly.
Yeah, we will be. We will be heading to the league meetings.
Yeah, and we'll be together. As of now.
As of right at this moment.
At this moment, we will.
We'll be together.
Yeah.
Down in Arizona. Should be nice.
You think we'll be standing on a corner?
I was like, if I have to go somewhere,
or no?
I'll go to the league meetings.
Stand on a corner in Winslow, Arizona?
Oh, in Winslow.
You do that or no?
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. Is
What?
that a song? Is that a song?
The Eagles, Take It Easy.
Take it easy.
I was standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona.
Got it. That's not something that we reference often.
I mean, it's a classic. Well, we don't reference Arizona much, do we?
Like, that would be like if the Broncos were going to go play the Chargers, and I'm like, oh, are you going to stay at the Hotel California?
Yeah, I think that would also be a decent reference.
Yeah. But we didn't make that joke at that time.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Here's the one I wanted to get to. Crew Dam. Crew Dam.
You can't say that.
D-A-M.
Oh, got it. Fine. I think it's Crudam.
Yeah. Crudam. Maybe a soft
Dom.
Dom. What would you guys rate the Broncos' and other facilities that you've had a chance to travel to? Where do the Broncos facilities rate?
It is number one in the facilities I've had a chance to travel to.
Yeah.
I've never been inside another team's facility.
You went to the Vikings facility?
Not
right?
inside.
You didn't go in?
No.
Oh, I went inside.
Oh, well, then maybe you should answer the question.
I was like, hey, I'm a new intern here. Like, where's the coaching wing? And I snuck in.
I've seen outside, like San Francisco, Minnesota.
49ers.
Minnesota's nice.
We went inside the 49ers, too.
I didn't.
You should do this.
You should
that way you
answer
can
the
reference
question.
this. Well, I think those are the only. Oh, and I've been to the Browns facility once.
What are you doing in all these places?
A long time ago. Yeah. They used to have like a rookie program, a symposium, if you will.
Yeah.
Where they took all of the drafted rookies, took them to a trip to Canton. Every team did this. And the idea was like, hey, if you do things the right way, you could be in here someday. That was sort of the idea. I don't know if that message got through because they don't do it anymore, but that was the idea.
Which rookies were there for the Broncos?
Trevor Simeon's class, Ty Sombrero.
Okay.
Sombrero. Hireman was part of that class. That's when I was there. I'm trying. Who else was a part of that class?
Was Michael Schofield in that class, or was that?
No. He was already.
Shane Ray, did you mention him?
Oh, Shane Ray.
Max Garcia.
Max Garcia was there.
Lorenzo Doss.
This was an effective trip.
This is some name some guys segment.
Yeah, I just remember.
Effective trip, huh?
Anyway.
Kilgo.
And then they had a Play 60 event at the Browns facility while on this trip.
Oh.
You had to go from Canton up to Cleveland.
It's not even in Cleveland, right? Bavaria?
Yeah.
Barrera?
Yeah.
Berea? I don't know.
Now that you just said it.
I think it's Berea.
I think it's Berea. Yeah. I think it's Berea.
Like that taco?
So, I would say that the Broncos is right on par with the 49ers, and the Vikings maybe is like one notch, half a notch maybe ahead.
Got it.
Yeah, I would say it is it's brand new. I mean, the whole thing is brand new, and it's very nice. I would say the nice thing about the Vikings facility is that, like, for fans to come out to watch a practice, they've got that set up very nicely.
Yeah, they've got, I think, 2 or 3 fields that you can see. There's a ton of bleachers. One of them's kind of like down in like a bowl where I think they play high school football games there too.
Yeah.
There's concession stands. They have a nice setup.
And there's a hotel like on their property and a lake.
Yeah.
Like, it's just sort of I think that some of these things are popular now.
But you hear free agents come in here and say, this is
Really
much
nice
nicer
facility.
than where I've been.
Correct.
And
the indoor facility for the Broncos is as good as it gets.
Yes.
And they're not lacking in any area. They redid the locker room a couple of years ago. What was that?
Last year, I think, right? At the stadium.
At the stadium. But here at the facility, they did a few years ago. It's really nice. As part of that, they redid the training facility. Like, they got all those sleep chambers. I know sometimes I'm like, where's Aric? And you're like in that zero gravity pool,
Yeah.
just recharging.
That's
For
true.
another podcast. I was like, where's Aric? We got to go.
I got to get ready.
You're in the zero gravity.
Nice.
It's really
It's a nice place here.
Yeah. And I would say maybe the nicest thing is the cafeteria is
Tremendous.
I don't understand some of the results of that survey, I think, which is where this question, I think it originated from.
I think it's, one, it's hard if you haven't been anywhere else. What do you compare it to? So some of these guys may not have a comparison point.
I will say that if you just came from the college level where maybe there's some flashier things because they're trying to entice recruits, maybe you're like, oh, why is
NFL facilities
a
are
little
not
bit different?
are
It's just a
not
little bit different.
College facilities.
Yeah. Like you walk around a college facility, they got like mannequins with like the 75 different uniform combinations.
Yeah.
They've got like video boards like playing everywhere. They got these insane game rooms and stuff like that. But that's because they're trying to get high school kids to like come.
Right.
Coach Prime, he drives like fancy cars onto the field. I don't think I've ever seen
whatever
that
they
here.
want.
I don't think I've seen that here.
You ever have a bad second? What about a bad minute?
No, because I'm in control. I got the remote.
Yeah, what are you waiting for?
I got the remote.
Yeah.
Coach Prime, he's teaching us.
People should go watch that if they
He's
haven't.
teaching us.
All right, Phil.
Okay, you want to dive into free agency a little bit here, Eric? The legal tampering period coming up on Monday. And then, of course, the new league year begins on Wednesday the 15th.
2 p.m. Mountain Time.
Yeah. 4 p.m. at the league office in New York.
Sure.
Everything is based off of New York time.
Well, there's time zones, right? So the time in New York is not the same time as the time in Denver. Yeah. It's at the same moment, but not the same time.
Interesting.
You ever think about that?
I think it's sort of relative.
Yeah. Daylight savings, how does that impact things?
Yeah, exactly.
Phil, I think my overarching thought about free agency in general is that we go into these situations every year and we think of, hey, the biggest possible name player. Can the Broncos, I'm just going to throw some names out that have been mentioned kind of toward the top of these lists. Can the Broncos get a Jamal Williams? Can they get an Orlando Brown? Can they go get, the top pass rusher out there? And somebody obviously gets those guys, right? But very rarely, especially in the last few years, have we seen the Broncos land kind of that top guy. And what you tend to see is more kind of in that middle tier where it's a very solid contributor for their previous team, but maybe Broncos fans aren't familiar with that player. And then that person ends up being productive. So, I think of a Kareem Jackson, a K'Wan Williams.
Solid starters.
Yes, solid starters that, maybe you're not hearing about on ESPN or NFL Network every single week.
Yeah.
But are guys that are going to come in and be productive. And so when you think about that, I think that lends itself to something good for the Broncos this year, which is that Sean Payton is going to want to transform this roster, I imagine, right? And so if you go out and you spend money, and let's be clear, right now the Broncos don't have a ton of cap space. They're going to have to make some moves. If you go out and you sign that big ticket free agent, the number one guy, you might be limited in what you can do. If you decide instead of that, I want to sign 3 or 4 or 5 kind of middle guys, then one, you're getting more talent at different positions, but also it lets Sean Payton get, quote unquote, his guys in here at more spots. And so when I look at it, I think, maybe I'd rather have 3, 4, 5 kind of middle range or, middle to upper range guys so that Sean Payton has, quote, his guys that fit his system, that fit Vance Joseph's system, rather than go spend it all on a big name player, which I know can be enticing or flashy sometimes.
Yeah, I think when I approach free agency, it's all about finding value, because I think sometimes, say a Jamal Williams, just picking him because you brought him up, 17 touchdowns last season. I believe that's a Lions record.
Yeah. I think broke Barry Sanders' record, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. What are the chances that Jamal Williams follows that up with another season of 17 touchdowns? I mean, it's unlikely. I would just say it's unlikely. I mean, you might be able to catch a guy who's on the upward trajectory of his career, and that's great. But what I think ends up happening sometimes in free agency is, hey, a guy's coming off a really good season. Maybe he gets a contract that's a little bigger than the team side would want, and then he has a hard time following up that huge season. So I think that you could go out there and get one of these big name guys who've just had a good season and they're hot right now, a big commodity. You tend to overpay those guys. Whereas you could go find value somewhere where a guy can come in, get a decent contract that's good for both sides, and then he comes in and is a solid contributor. So I think that that's the best way to approach free agency is find these guys like a DJ Jones, somebody who comes in it's not an insane contract, and they can come in and really, play to their level of their pay, because what you don't want is a guy who's getting paid a ton of money and then the level of play just can't match that.
Of course, and you're always kind of guessing, right? And you're projecting of how is this going to go? What are we going to get from this guy for this amount of money? I do think you find value in two categories. One is guys kind of coming off that first contract that, maybe they haven't made a Pro Bowl yet, but they're a strong player. And that's where I think you see like a DJ Jones or a K'Wan Williams, just looking back at last year, strong additions for this football team, but weren't necessarily, you wouldn't have seen those guys in the top 10 of like any free agent ranking. I think DJ Jones was like 30th or something like that. And K'Wan Williams was a little bit further down the list. Both really good players. So I think that's a category where you like to find guys, and the Broncos have done a decent job in the past. The other category, Phil, I think is guys who are kind of nearing the end of their career or up there where, maybe they want a third contract or something, but the team they were with is kind of like, I'm not so sure you still got it. That's a guy like Kareem Jackson, right? He was with the Texans for, I believe, 10 seasons. They moved him from corner to safety. He played there, I believe, 1 season, and then he came here and was a starter for a long time. And obviously, we don't know if he'll be back or not. That's obviously still a possibility.
He played where 1 season?
At corner.
Oh.
Or excuse me, at safety. He was at corner for a long time and then moved to safety.
After switching. Okay,
Yeah. What did you think I said?
I was just confused if you thought he played it with the Texans for 1 season.
No. He was drafted there.
Yeah, exactly.
He played there for 10 years. I said that.
I just said the 10-year, and then you were like, he played there for a season.
At safety.
I'm following.
Then went to the Broncos and obviously has been productive here the last few years for the Broncos. Yeah. Who knows if he's back or not. He's one of the guys kind of up at the start of the league year. But
last year they did the same thing. They brought him back on a 1 year.
Yeah, and it came back. He kind of hit free agency and then later re-signed.
Yep.
But maybe there's some guys like that. Is it a Von Bell, for example? He's been a guy that's been mentioned as somebody with Broncos ties because he played for Sean Payton.
Yeah.
He obviously hasn't played as long as Kareem Jackson, but he played in New Orleans for 4 years and he went to Cincinnati. So he's kind of on that third contract too. Is he a guy that maybe makes sense and is good value? And so, you can go out and you can swing big, and it'll be interesting. You mentioned it'll tell what the Broncos think about this roster. If you do go and get one piece or one, big name guy like the Broncos did when they signed like a DeMarcus Ware back in the day, it tells you think you're really close here to winning a Super Bowl. I would guess, based on, and purely speculation here, that based on what Sean Payton said about, hey, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be tough at times to go through this transition like the one he did in New Orleans. It's not meant for everybody, I think he said during his introductory press conference. Mm-hmm. I think you'll see more change at positions as opposed to just going after one guy and being like, we're one step away here.
Yeah, I agree. Because the other thing that happens in free agency is some guys want to come play with a contender or with like a certain player, and they're like, okay, I'll take a discount. I'll come play here because I know it's going to lead to big things.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Broncos are in that position right now. So I think that you're just wanting to acquire talent and build it and continue to grow in a conservative way.
Yeah. No, I do think the Broncos have some recruiting tools here because Sean Payton obviously is a proven coach. He's won a Super Bowl. I think guys, especially if you're on the offensive side of the ball, they want to play for him. Russell Wilson, I know, had a tough season last year, not up to his standards, but I think there's a lot of guys around the league still kind of speaking up in his defense and believe that he can get back on the right track. So I think back to, what year was it? Maybe 2019, it must have been 2020, when the Broncos were going after DJ Reader. There was some interest there, and he signed with Cincinnati, and he, I think, came out later in an interview and said, I was deciding between Joe Burrow and Drew Lock, essentially, and I chose Joe Burrow. And so when guys are thinking about their, it's about the money, but it's also, like you said, about the situation. And I think if the Broncos might not be in that top contender category at the moment, based on what we saw last year, but I do think, if you're an offensive player in particular, or maybe a receiver or something like that, or an offensive lineman, and you say, okay, well, I can go play for Sean Payton, and I can play with Russell Wilson, who, outside of last year is a top 5, top 10 quarterback. That's appealing in a way that maybe the Broncos haven't had that edge in recent years.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of feel like they're in a sort of a prove-it situation with regard to that. Just because, like, say, for example, I think back to, like, Emmanuel Sanders. Like, he was at the Chiefs facility, and then they were like, hey, do you want to go play with Peyton Manning? And he was just like, get me out of here. I'm going to Denver right now.
Right.
I'm not sure. And he was like, that's wide receiver heaven.
But when DJ Reader made that decision for the Bengals, I think, were just coming off a really bad year. And you were like,
they saw that potential with Burrow.
They didn't even actually have Burrow yet. I think they were about to draft him. And so he just knew they had the number 1 pick.
Oh.
They hadn't even drafted Burrow yet.
Oh, God.
It was ahead of the 2019 season. And it was kind of like
ahead of 19 or 20?
Ahead of 20, maybe. Burrow was 20, right?
I think it was ahead of 20.
Burrow had not been drafted yet.
Because Burrow got hurt, right? And then the second year went to the Super Bowl.
2019, the Bengals were 2-14.
Yeah, so it was before 20. They had not selected Joe Burrow yet, but there was like the writing on the wall.
Knew that was happening.
But at the time, you're like, man, why would he choose this organization over? So I'm not saying people are going to choose the Broncos over the Chiefs if you're like, hey, we're going to go win a Super Bowl or something like that. But if you can just get an advantage over this, there's a clump of teams right in the middle that you're competing against for these playoff spots. If you can get an edge over those guys by someone saying, hey, I want to go play for Sean Payton. I've seen what he's done for Alvin Kamara. I've seen what he's done for Michael Thomas, Marcus Colston, go on and on and on. Maybe that's an advantage.
Would you say Sean Payton right now is the Broncos' biggest recruiting tool?
Yeah, I think he has to be, right?
I do too, yeah.
I mean, just especially from we talk about a lot from the offensive perspective. If you're an offensive lineman, he builds good offensive lines. You're going to run the ball. You're going to be a tough football team. If you're a receiver, he designs plays that gets those guys open. A tight end, we've seen success that they've had. If you're a backup quarterback and, you want to learn from him or you want to have a chance to, stay in the league and work with him, that's a good opportunity. But then I think defensively too, if you just want to win, Vance Joseph has had good things said about him by former Broncos players, Chris Harris, Shelby Harris, I think J.J. Watt from the Cardinals, obviously. He's spoken highly of Vance. And then you say, okay, well, does Sean give them a better chance to win? Does he put us in position where we can succeed? I think if you're a guy deciding between two comparable situations, two comparable deals, and you can go play for a guy that has won 7 division titles, been to the playoffs 9 times, I would think that gives you sort of an edge there.
Yeah, I do think that Sean is the biggest recruiting tool right now. And I think that from a player's perspective, I think it just depends on where you are in your career, what you've been able to do. Some guys, if they've won a Super Bowl, now at this point, they're like, okay, I need to start acquiring some money.
Yeah.
Other guys, maybe they've gotten a couple big deals, but they're looking to win, like a DeMarcus Ware or something like that. They're like, I just need to get over the hump. It really just depends on where that individual player is, too, with regard to their career and how much money they've made and stuff. So I do think that that there's a balance there for what you want to do in free agency. Aric, the interesting thing I was going to get to was on this podcast, we've talked a lot about the Broncos needing like a guy, like one of those top tier guys that like, hey, when you really need it, you can just, that this guy is dependable. It seems like maybe to find those guys at this point, they need to be drafted. Do you think, or do you think?
Are you talking offensive, like someone
either way,
to throw the ball to, or what are you talking about?
Like just like having like those premier talented players, we've just talked about how the Broncos have a lot of guys who are like, maybe they've got good potential. Maybe they've if they hit here or there, they can develop into those guys, but like they just don't have enough Pat Surtains, or like they don't have enough like just studs.
Yeah.
So my question is like, at this point, do you think it's better to draft those guys down the line? Obviously, that's not going to happen this year, but because, at the beginning we spent time talking about, hey, we look at the big names, but usually in free agency it ends up being like just a solid starter. But eventually, good teams need guys, studs. How do you find those guys?
I mean, I think if you knew, it'd be easy, right?
How do you do it?
Everybody would just do it. I mean, listen, the Broncos did not set the market last year with Randy Gregory, but when he's healthy, he's a guy.
He's a guy.
And so I think you can find guys without setting the market. You can find somebody that's a really good player that's not going to be the top right tackle that gets signed, or is not going to be the top defensive lineman that gets signed. So I think you can still add quality football players. And, George Payton, I think, has done a decent job identifying those guys. Obviously, Sean Payton has a track record of building really good rosters. So I think you trust in what he does in free agency. It's not impossible in the third round that you're going to find a stud type player. I mean, Travis Kelce, third round pick, right?
Yeah.
George
At
Kittle,
certain positions,
George Kittle,
that.
Former fifth round pick. Justin Simmons, we mentioned in the third round. I mean, you can go on and on about guys that have been found that late. I think what you're looking for there, what's more realistic, is you just find a quality contributor, some sort of starter, a Baron Browning, a Quinn Miners, Damari Mathis in the fourth round, those types of guys that are, good players, but maybe not superstars at the moment. And then I think next year you hope once you get your first round pick back, you have another second round pick, then you can start adding this young talent. And with the deal the Broncos have with Russell Wilson, you'll need to hit on those picks. Obviously, you'll need to kind of infuse this roster with some younger guys. But this year, obviously, if you're going to add guys, as you put it, they'll need to do that through free agency. But you've got to find a way to do that where maybe it's do you take a risk on a guy where you can spend a little bit less, but if it pays off, you're going to get a really good football player. I mean, yeah. Randy Gregory didn't set the market because his injury history largely. And obviously he dealt with those issues last year, but when he's healthy, he's a really good football player.
Yeah.
Whereas, you can kind of guarantee or not guarantee, but get as close to a guarantee as possible by going and signing some huge name free agent. But then you might be limited to just that guy. And so, again, I think that if the more positions you're able to hit here and get guys that fit the Sean Payton mold, I think the better. And you'll just have to realize that you might not have a bunch of Pat Surtains this year. You might have to wait till these draft picks come back. You can replenish the cupboard, so to speak. But Phil, I also think looking at certain teams like the Chiefs, they've got guys, right? They've got Patrick Mahomes, they've got Travis Kelce, they've got Chris Jones. But
guys,
those are guys, but they've got a lot of guys that aren't guys that play really well and make big plays because of the position their coaches put them in, because of the quarterback play, because of, just, I don't know, being around those other guys. Like Pat Surtain should make guys around him better. Russell Wilson should make guys around him better. If you add a big name player at the offensive line, should make guys around him better. And so that to me, you don't have to have, we look at it and we're like, the Broncos in the 90s had, 5 Hall of Famers on the Super Bowl team?
Yep.
You need a couple of Hall of Famers, certainly, 2 or 3, but when you've got those guys, it makes everybody around you better. And so you don't need to have all-stars at every single position.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody knows the ball is going to Travis Kelce, but he just still makes plays.
Right. And then he makes Mecole Hardman better. Exactly. He makes Juju better, And
then it starts opening up.
Like Juju, or who is Isaiah Pacheco, right?
Yeah.
Their 7th round running back, played incredibly.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing that at a lot of other places. And so people around you, these great players, make players around them better.
Yeah. I think the biggest transformation for this Broncos team this offseason will be adding some pieces in free agency that fit what Sean wants to do. And then the culture and just a shift in the mindset and the scheme and getting guys in better position, and then just overall the attitude. If you start changing those things, then gradually mid-level guys become better, and then everything just sort of starts humming a little bit.
And you win football games, and then all of a sudden, instead of having 2 Pro Bowlers or 1 Pro Bowler, you have 6, and you've got the same guys on your team.
You start buying in a little bit more, but you do have to hit when you make these decisions, you got to hit. You got to find.
Of course. But like I don't think you would have said midway through last year that Jerry Jeudy was playing like a guy.
Exactly. Yes. But maybe he could become a guy.
Whereas at the end of last year, the last 3 or 4 games, you're like, this guy's a guy.
Yeah.
And
he's on his way to being a guy.
Yeah. And so you put him in the right position.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
Emotional here. Emotional.
Let it out. You know, don't hold it in.
I just tell you that Jerry Jeudy will get all fired up.
If you hold the sneeze in, eventually you die.
You talked, well, I think eventually you die regardless, right?
It explodes.
Maybe not you, everybody else.
I let him out. I just.
Like he's a guy that with good coaching and you run a certain type of offense. Like it's funny, Jerry Rosberg stepped in for 2 games and all of a sudden things looked a little
changed.
Looked a lot better.
Yep.
And so you just kind of wonder how much of it is guys just being put in the right position. Are there people on this roster that under Sean Payton are going to unlock some of their potential and all of a sudden look much better than they have in the past?
Yeah. And I look at a team like the Eagles, you know, the transformation that they've done it in a lot of different ways. Free agents, trades, hitting on draft picks, these types of things. When it all sort of comes together like that, change can happen very fast. So,
yeah, and that's again, you know, it circles back to that. Hey, try to hit on several free agents instead of picking one guy. And maybe they do, you know, we don't know. Maybe they do say it's worth going all in on this one big name guy just so that we don't have to worry about a certain position. But the way they've talked so far about having, you know, George Payton has said, we need help at offensive line. We got to restock at running back. You know, you can never have enough pass rushers. It makes you think that they'll do maybe more. They'll do more instead of
one big
thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. That would be my prediction. Because you look at some of the other teams, like the Lions, like the mindset there just changed over the course of last year, where they were knocking on the door of the playoffs right there at the end. You know, and it's not like they brought in a big ticket guy or something like that. The mindset and the attitude there in Detroit slowly changed.
Yeah.
And for this Broncos team, I think that's what it's going to take to get back in the mix.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these free agents often, not always, but you sign guys typically that have been on good teams. And so last year you brought in guys in K'Wan Williams,
49ers.
DJ Jones, who've been on a good football team in the 49ers. The Cowboys have had success, obviously not a ton in the playoffs, but have had success in the regular season. You bring in guys that are used to winning, and all of a sudden you've got more and more pieces that know how to do that. And I think especially given that you've got a lot of guys on this current roster that, you know, have been drafted here or spent a long time here that haven't had that success, the more of that you can bring in, I think the better of, hey, I understand how to win. I know what it takes to win. I've got a winner's mentality. I think those things are important. And obviously Sean is going to shape a lot of that and set the tone there. But it's also helpful when guys coming in have that. Like Russell Wilson knows how to win football games. Yeah. He obviously didn't have the season last year that he wanted, but he knows what it takes and knows what guys have to put in. I don't think anyone would question his work ethic. You know, obviously it didn't work out from an on the field standpoint, but he knows what it takes from a work ethic standpoint. And so all those things are important and I think helpful when you add people with playoff experience, winning habits, if you will.
Last year, I mean, they were just trying to get through that storm. The storm.
Which storm?
And the storm they were trying to get through, and then better days are ahead.
I hope so, Phil.
It seems like that.
I hope so.
Yeah. But I do think that the Broncos are in a position where they hit a couple of areas, culture change, things start building there. Then maybe next year I could see other free agents being like, I want to go play in Denver. Look at what Sean did last year. Look at Russ is back to being Russ. Or, you know, then all of a sudden I think Denver becomes like that place where you're like, gosh, hey, if I can just be this guy for them, they're going to start, you know, being really in the mix.
Yeah, and it's just, I think one of the exciting things about this season is we don't really have any idea what to expect. Sean Payton was asked, it's like it's scary, but it's also
going to happen.
Like Sean was asked, what are your expectations? And he said, I don't really do predictions. You can expect the culture is going to be better and you can expect that we're going to win games.
Yeah.
But he didn't, you know, he's not saying we're going to make the playoffs or we're going to win. We're going to win the division. Yeah, you're not going to get that sort of thing. They're going to work. But, you know, I didn't follow the Saints like insanely closely every year. So I'm excited to see what his philosophy is in free agency. You know, the Saints every year, traditionally, you think of they're trying to get under the cap. They're making these moves. I mean, it's exciting to see how they do this sort of thing. But, you know, how is he going to handle free agency? What does he want to do? Does he want to go get one big guy? Does he want to get 5 kind of mid-level guys? Does he want to, you know, what positions does he target in the draft? Is it going to be filling needs? Is it going to be best player available if there's somebody there that you can't risk passing up? And then what does it look like this season? How quickly does success come? Is it a tough year where you're really, you're fighting through the whole year and you've got to just change everything and it becomes clear this is a long-term project? Or do you have success quickly like the Saints did where they won 10 football games and made it to the NFC Championship? I mean, the truth is anybody saying they have an idea is just guessing at this point, because after last year, Phil, where we thought, hey, Russell Wilson comes in here, this team is going to win, 10, 11, 12 games. They're going to compete for the division. They could go to an AFC championship. They could be a Super Bowl contender. It's Super Bowl or bust. And none of that happens. I think I'm kind of in the camp now where it's like, we don't really know what's going to happen. And it's exciting in some ways because every step of the way, you're kind of like we're sitting here talking about free agency and what the Broncos could do and who they could sign. Next, I have no idea what's going to happen on Monday. They could be really quiet and only sign a couple of guys. They could go crazy. We don't.
Yeah, I would say I would bet more likely than not they're pretty quiet, and then they slowly add some guys. That's just like if I look at when I think about what the Saints were able to do there, they found out like a lot of value in the draft, and like they drafted really well there. They found a lot of pieces in the offensive line. They got guys like Jimmy Graham or Marquise Colston and Alvin Kamara, like they just like drafted really well and built that way. When I think about like some of the things that they've done, that's what I think. Like just off the top of my head, like in a umbrella sort of way, I feel like they built that through the draft, and then obviously they had the big change when Sean first got there. They got Drew Brees and spent money that way.
That was a free agent, right?
That worked out nicely.
Yeah,
I think that was a pretty good move.
Oh, I think it was a good move.
I think it was a good move. But then once they were there, then I think that they built themselves into a contender through the draft.
Right. The Broncos just can't do that this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you trade guys currently on the roster, which, who knows what they do there.
Yeah.
So I think it's an unknown, which makes it exciting, but it also makes kind of what we're talking about, what everybody is talking about, just when John Elway's been here for a long time, you kind of know what to expect. Hey, he's going to try to aim big and fix the quarterback situation.
He's going to find the right tackle for the year.
Yeah, exactly. Like what's kind of going to happen. With this, we don't have a baseline.
No.
And even with George, we've only seen one free agency period from him? Two.
Yeah, because he did like the Ronald Darby.
Yeah.
Who else came in that first year? There were a few guys.
Well, he re-signed Justin Simmons.
Did the Shelby Harris.
Yep.
What else did he do? I feel like he brought some other
Darby,
outsider.
Mike Boone.
Mike Boone was a guy.
And so that year you essentially kept
Swanson looked
Simmons, which was a starter.
That was big.
You added Darby, who was a starter. You kept Shelby Harris, who was a starter. So you made several big moves there defensively. This past year, he kind of swung big with Randy Gregory I would say.
Yeah.
And so his 2 years of history suggests that they will swing on at least one guy.
At least one guy, yeah. But I feel like they had more room to play.
From a cap space standpoint? Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see if they do anything from a restructure or whatever. But these teams find ways to make money and move things around. And, depending on what happens with their free agents, they're going to have to fill holes
of
around the roster. So
guys who are here last year aren't going to be here next year.
So
that's just how free agency works.
Boom.
There's your headline.
Dr.
There's
Phil.
your headline. Swanson, you got that free agency class?
Yeah. So we have Kyle Fuller.
This is when it kind of slows down a little bit. Let's settle in. Let's just get really nice into it.
You want me to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Kyle Fuller. Bobby Massey at tackle.
Big Bobby Massey.
Eric Saubert.
Bobby.
Those are kind of the bigger bigger names. Mike Boone, you mentioned already. Yeah, they re-signed Kareem Jackson.
Darby?
Yeah, Darby. Yeah.
The Fuller was later too, right?
Yeah,
and that was
a little
more.
bit.
That was sort of
A
like a
little bit, not
Fangio
much.
thing, right?
Well, Fuller was a cap casualty after.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like part
It wasn't
of
the first
big-
wave, I don't
yeah.
think. That did not work
Well,
out.
That one did not work out. I
No.
don't think. Yeah. So I think that you can expect them to try and find like 1 or 2, 3 starters that are like just like guys who will play, and then who knows, maybe one.
I mean,
that would be big.
yeah,
That's a
well, you
lot.
just said you thought they'd be quiet.
Yeah.
Are
I
you
don't think
changing
they're
your
going
mind
to
now?
do like a Marcus Davenport, if you ask me. I wouldn't think that.
But like
Or
if
like
you
a
had
Jamal
3
Williams.
starters in free agency, that's pretty aggressive, even if they're mid-level guys.
Yeah. Would you say like mid?
No,
Or
mid is
bad.
but mid-level.
Mid-level.
Or upper mid.
Upper management.
Ascending.
Oh, those are good words.
I like that.
Yeah, those are nice words. So
Like if you did the same thing you did last year where you had like a DJ Jones, a K'Wan Williams, a Randy Gregory type, like you did that type of class, I think people would be pretty happy.
what do you think that class said about where they thought they were last year? Like, did it feel like, hey,
where the Broncos thought they were.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, we're saying, hey, we're going to find out where the Broncos think they are based on the class.
I think
What do you
they
that said
thought
last
they
year?
were going to be competitive in the division. That's no. They
Yeah.
said that themselves, right? That
I think they were like, hey, we got Bradley Chubb. If we got a guy like Gregory, this pass rusher is going to really take a step. They drafted Nick Bonito.
Yeah.
Like I think that they were pretty aggressive.
I mean, they were talking about Super Bowls.
They were talking about Super Bowls.
So I think that's also a good indication of where they thought they were, right?
Yeah. Do you feel like after trading for Russell Wilson, they were like, we got to go big here?
Well, you just view George did say, we view this window as more than a 1-year window. So you can't break the bank or like do anything that's going to ruin you. But
put all your eggs in a basket.
But you need to make sure that each year you have him, you have a chance. You've got enough talent. And I think they did have enough talent if they were healthy.
Yep.
Which they weren't.
Yep. A lot of things went wrong.
Yeah, as Sean Payton said, when you go 5-12, a lot of people have dirt on their hands.
Dirt. Yeah. Including Swanson when he's out in the woods.
Yeah. Gardner.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say about free agency?
I don't think so. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Any prediction? Just like name a guy who you think's going to be. You got anybody?
Russell Wilson.
Yep. Yeah, he could be here. All right. Any shout outs, Eric, that you'd like to get to?
Wow. Well, Phil, I know you want to shout out a certain holiday, right?
Oh, St. Patrick's Day. That is true. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. We were thinking before the show started, we were like, hey, can we tie in St. Patrick's Day, any Broncos talk? Like maybe who's like the luckiest player on the team, or like maybe like what are some lucky plays the Broncos have had in their history, or something like the McCaffrey in Minnesota bounces up a bunch of times, catches it, goes in, plays like that.
Yeah.
Those are some lucky plays. But then we were like, nah, let's just talk free agency.
Yeah.
But you were thinking also nobody really likes St. Patrick's Day.
I don't think that's what I said.
I think you bashed the entire country of Ireland for a second there.
I love Ireland. Your Northwestern Wildcats are undefeated in Ireland.
Be Nebraska, huh?
That's true.
Yeah, that was huge.
Huge. No, it's just not,
like, it's not a big
my.
You're like
lying.
Like what's
Just
even a
lying
Guinness?
on
You
air.
don't even know what a Guinness is, and you went on and on.
I said it's not my favorite holiday.
Got it. But then we were like, how do you rank some of these holidays?
Yeah. You said that Arbor Day was slightly ahead of St. Patrick's Day,
No,
I think.
you were like, oh, are we going to do the same thing for Arbor Day? And I was like, what?
I did say that.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is my personal favorite holiday.
It's a nice holiday. I think that's a
Football, food,
friends, family,
being at work.
tradition, working. Yeah. Some of your favorite things.
Some of my favorite things.
Yeah, some of your favorite things. Yeah.
4th of July, also
do.
nice.
How much working are you doing on the 4th of July?
A lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're at the lake on the 4th of July.
So you would put 4th of July ahead of St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
Got it. You're probably right. The summertime, there's something nice about the
Summertime,
summertime.
you
You're
have a bratwurst.
barbecuing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just sort of, the vibe is a little bit, it's nice.
You're sitting by the lake.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day I view as like, we're going to go get drunk at a bar.
Yeah, that seems,
Yeah,
seems like
that's
you would
kinda
really
like-
like that. Or maybe you thinking the opposite, like, hey, it's just like any other day.
Yeah, it doesn't sound even special.
Yeah, exactly.
No. They make everything green.
Swanson, yeah, what do you think?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, you went to school in Northwestern
Chicago.
Chicago,
Yeah.
big
Yeah,
St. Patrick's.
That's true.
Day.
I never did St. Patrick's Day in Chicago.
Well, what do
I
you
did
think
not.
of it? What do you think of St.
I was
Patrick's?
not of
agnostic.
age. I was not of age until my.
You don't believe in St. Patrick's Day? Yeah.
I was never.
Or-
yeah.
You're a purist. You're like, it's just become so much about green and beer. Like, let's
What
really
about
think.
the saint?
What about St. Patrick? Like, really,
true.
you remember
We've
what
lost
he was
the-
about.
The
That's
war
true.
on St. Patrick's Day has got.
Yeah, it's got to stop. It's just commercialized. You know,
You-
they want you to put Irish cream
Do
in
you like
everything.
Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day better?
Oh.
Ooh.
Do you think my wife's listening? Is she listening? I don't know. That's a good.
That's a good
those
one,
are
huh?
good comparisons.
Yeah,
I
they're
think.
both-
Those are about the same level, if you ask me.
They're ascending holidays. They're
More
middle.
and more
They're
free
middle.
agents
Right,
recognize
they're
it.
middle.
I would not pick them up.
Oh yeah, they're mid.
Yeah, or mid-level. I don't know.
I think St. Patrick's Day is kind of mid.
Really.
Yeah.
What else? Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. What else is sort of on that tier?
Groundhog Day.
Oh, the Groundhog Day is below. If you ask me. What about like a Cinco de Mayo? That's sort of another day of like sort of.
I would say
Festivities.
similar.
Yeah.
Maybe Cinco de Mayo a little bit higher.
What about like a Labor Day?
That's just a work day for us.
So
It kind of is those kind of
Halloween. What do you think?
I hate Halloween.
Really?
Yeah, I put St. Patrick's Day above Halloween.
I like Halloween.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Terrible.
Huh. Interesting. Easter.
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Easter is a popular holiday in this
It's true.
country. You know. So any other?
How many
am I
people can I?
missing?
How many
Am
people can I
sleep-
offend?
Am I sleeping on any holidays here?
Christmas.
Well, yeah. I feel like, to me, like in the echelon of holidays, like I would say, like Christmas is like number one. Thanksgiving is right there. Halloween is there. Like that time of year.
The holiday season, they call it.
Yeah, you get the spirit. Feel the holiday spirit. That's like a
New Year's?
time
What do you
of
think about
year.
New Year's?
Oh,
I don't like New Year's either.
I'm out on. Yeah.
you're out on New Year's.
I don't like New Year's.
Wow. So you guys really just don't like anything.
That's
And
correct.
that's sort of what I'm picking up on.
Yep.
I said I liked Halloween.
You like your birthday.
That's the best holiday of
That's the
all.
best.
It's not a holiday. Birthdays are not
One
holidays.
person, individual holiday.
If you're prominent enough, it is.
I guess.
If you're George Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Something
But then
to
you're-
aspire to.
You're starting to sort of like, he's like, whoa, it's my birthday. It's not like President's Day. You know, and then everybody's like, oh, they forget. They're like, they just think it's President's Day.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's his birthday. MLK Day. That's another one.
You know,
I think those are pretty much all the holidays.
you and I participated in the Denver Parade this year.
We did.
Yep.
It was nice.
Swanson was not
Oh,
there.
you were there.
Oh, he was there?
Yeah.
Oh.
That is true. Fact check true. All right.
Any other shout outs?
Well, of course, Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
He's been in the news a lot.
Yeah. For stat padding.
Yeah, and then also some criticism about the biases of the
Oh, yeah.
voters. So it's been I would imagine that as a basketball player like Nikola Jokic, you try to put those out of your mind, but eventually, I think at some point you start thinking about it a little bit. I mean, it would wear on you after some point. It's gone from just like talk about, hey, is he going to win MVP? Let's talk about his season compared to other players. And then now it's become like a huge, big thing. And I imagine it's probably weighed on him a little bit. But
I will talk about Groundhog Day. I won't talk about this.
you want to talk about Okay. Well, I still
But
shut
you
him
can
out.
shout him out.
I still shut him out.
Swanson wanted to shout out Glendale, Colorado.
Oh, no.
Swanson, what is that? What is that
Swanson, what's that
area
known
known
for?
for? Yeah,
The area is known for.
shopping
Target.
centers and something else, right?
Something-
What,
something
you know,
else. I don't know.
Target?
It's been in the news, though.
Yeah, it's not even.
Our friend Ike lives over there.
They don't really even call it a city. What do they say? It's like an enclave.
Municipality.
Yeah,
I don't
know what it is. Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to ChatGPT, which has provided a lot of entertainment in the office.
Been into AI recently.
Yeah. During this show, I asked it to write a poem about our podcast.
Is it good?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it appropriate?
He's like,
It is appropriate.
He's like, yeah, that's
it's
pretty
impressive how much knowledge it can pick up.
You have 30 seconds.
All right. In the land of the Broncos, where orange and blue reign, there's a podcast that covers it all. No need to explain. The Neutral Zone is the name. Football is the game. And the hosts are the best. They'll have you shouting their fame. Phil Milani and Aric DiLalla are the stars of the show. With witty banter and analysis, they always know what's happening with the team, the players, and the game. Their insights and opinions are never tame. From game previews to post-game recaps, they cover it all, leaving no stone unturned in their tracks. They'll break down each play, analyze every move, and share their thoughts on how the team can improve. Their guests are top-notch with knowledge to spare. From coaches to players, they'll get them all to share their experiences, their insights, and their thoughts on the game, the team, and what it takes to be on top. So if you're a Broncos fan and you want to know what's happening with the team from top to bottom and low, tune into the Neutral Zone and you'll be in the know about everything Broncos from head to toe.
Wow.
It was nice.
Really nice.
Maybe we could share that on social media.
Yeah, maybe that could just be like the tease that you have to submit.
Nice little teaser.
Good.
Yeah, the advertisement.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, shout out Liz Gerald.
Yes.
I mean, we would be remiss. Community's doing some nice
Really nice community.
Yeah, what would you think? What
What would I think?
do you think they've been doing?
Yeah.
So much.
And they never really rest.
No.
There's always something.
If I started naming things that they were doing, I'd be leaving something out. You know.
Too many to name, and then you start naming them, and then it's like
It's like, gosh, I forgot something. And
better to just
not name any.
exactly. That's a good
Shout
idea.
out.
That's smart. Okay, I think that's going to do it, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I wish the chatbot would have mentioned Swanson,
That's okay.
but maybe next time.
I think that was the guest they were referring to.
Oh, top notch.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. Well, we'll break down whatever happens next week on Thursday. We'll be back with another episode, but who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah,
It could
who
be
knows?
crazy. It could be insane.
Really good.
Until then, for Ben Swanson and Aric DiLalla, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.